Mrs. Albert Forrester was 57 years old when she wrote her best-selling book, The Achilles Statue. Mrs. Albert Forrester lived with her husband in a flat not far from Marble Arch. Marble Arch was very near to the most fashionable part of London. Every Tuesday afternoon, many visitors came to have tea with Mrs. Albert Forrester in her handsome drawing room. It was a handsome room, but it was not very comfortable. In the highest corner of the room stood the desk at which Mrs. Albert Forrester sat and wrote the books, which the critics praised but the public did not buy. Mrs. Albert Forrester was a very large lady. Luckily, she was also very tall, so that she did not appear to be fat. Her face was large, and this made her look very intelligent. Her eyes were large and black and bright. Her nose was large, and her chin was square. She looked very important. Because she looked so important, Mrs. Albert Forrester did not serve the tea herself. Tea was served by Miss Warren. It was not easy to guess Miss Warren's age, but she certainly did not look at all important. She never said a word, and she was never introduced to anyone. All kinds of people came to her Tuesday afternoon tea parties: politicians, owners of newspapers, foreign ambassadors. But her favorite visitors were writers, especially if they were not known. She was always ready to offer advice and give encouragement to unknown writers who one day might become famous.
What a wonderful food, Miss Forrester. Everything looks so perfect as you are.
You're right, Clifford. I love your tea parties. I'm going to write about this lovely tea party. Please, don't praise me. You would say, praise Mrs. Bullfish.
Who is Miss Bluefish?
She is my cook.
Oh, that's awesome.
I really don't know what I would do without him. What is the reason for the dreadful noise? Is the house falling down?
I'm so sorry, madam. It's the new cook.
The new cook? What do you mean?
The new cook went away this afternoon.
This is the first time I have heard about this. When did Mrs. Bloomfield leave? Ah.
Her Tuesday afternoon tea parties were famous. Everyone who was invited to one of Mrs. Albert Forrester's tea parties felt that they had been honored. They had to sit on the rather uncomfortable chairs, but they felt that they were taking part in something very important. Mr. Albert Forrester was never present at these afternoon tea parties. He was too busy at work in his office in the city. But he was always present at Mrs. Albert Forrester's weekly lunch parties, which were held every Saturday. The conversation at these lunch parties was always interesting, and the food and the wine were always excellent. It was an honor to be invited to one of her Tuesday tea parties. It was an even greater honor to be invited to one of her Saturday lunches. The guests at her Saturday lunches always praised the food, but Mrs. Albert Forrester never allowed them to praise her.
What a disaster!
You must get her back. She's the best cook in London.
Where is my husband? What is that?
Is a letter for you?
Oh my goodness!
What happened? Are you okay? Show me. What happened?
Albert!
Oh my god, Albert left her for the cook.
Oh my god! I can't believe it!
She's laughing because she's shocked.
What about
Tuesday
Saturday?
lunches. Did Amal take care of those two?
Sure, she always said that he was in charge. It was his responsibility. She has told him always how much she loved him. This is so terrible.
Don't worry. You must get him back.
What? What do you mean? Take him back? Never.
Never. I will never take him back.
You know, I think it's probably right. How are you going to live? Where is the money going to come?
Yes, my dear, think about it. Your tea parties must cost a lot of money, and now that he left you, he will not able to give you as much as before.
Believe me, there is only one thing for you to do. You must get him back.
This is ridiculous.
Of course, this is ridiculous. People will laugh on you, and it will destroy your reputation because your husband ran away with the cook. You will become a joke.
You will be a joke. That will be the end of your reputation. That's why you must get your husband back, and you must do it right now.
We are all here, and nobody will say anything bad. We must do something quickly, and before the people find out if something happening to Mr. Albert affect us all here.
I am affected too, but I will go back tomorrow with you, my friends.
On the following afternoon, Mrs. Albert Forrester went to her husband's new house. She found the apartment number 411. It was a shabby apartment. The door was opened by a beautiful girl. Hi, how can I help you?
Does Mr. Bloomfish live here?
Yes, she's in the living room. Please come in.
Good afternoon, Mrs. Bloomfish. I wish to see you, my husband.
Come in, madame.
Oh, Albert, Mrs. Forrester is here.
How are you, dear? I hope you're well.
I would have preferred to see you alone.
Want to sit down?
No,
Anything you have to say is Miss Bullfinch's business as well as mine.
as you wish.
Well, my dear, what do you want to say to me?
This is ridiculous, Albert. I came to take you home.
Nothing will persuade me to live with you again.
You are not serious? Do you love this woman?
Yes, we love each other.
Were you not happy with me? I have always talked about my interests, and you were at my lunch parties.
Yes, but you have never heard mine. Not like Miss Bullfinch.
Yes, and the new cook has good preference, so you can tell her what you want.
But I can do anything without you.
You can learn. I can help you with money.
But now your money won't be enough.
So you can write a thrilling story. You can gain a lot of money.
But I can't. Nobody reads my books.
But you can start doing it, and they will love it. And you can start writing like a serial killer story.
Exactly. You could write, I don't know, a murder story.
But love, I just came to make him come back home.
I'm sorry. There's nothing more to say.
You know? Whatever. I will go now.
Darling, don't you worry now. It's in good hands.
Huh?
Okay.
Look out, here she comes.
Sometime later, Mrs. Albert Forrester was walking through the park. But she was so tired because she couldn't find a bus that she decided to sit for some minutes. She sat next to a young man, but she didn't pay much attention to him at first. A couple of minutes later, she wondered what the time was and looked up at the man sitting next to her. She was amazed. The man was a respectable looking, middle aged, well dressed gentleman, wearing a gold watch on a chain. He looked exactly like the man that Albert had described. He wore a silk hat, a black coat, black trousers, and was carrying a briefcase. Mrs. Albert Forrester was sure that he was a solicitor. The gentleman then stood up and started walking down the park. Mrs. Albert Forrester was still amazed by him and watched him go down a narrow, dirty street. She wondered where he was going and why. What business would a well-dressed gentleman have in such a poor street? She then stood up as well and started walking down the Victoria Park. As she walked, she thought about what Albert and Mrs. Bulfinch had said. Why not? She asked herself. Other famous writers have written detective stories. Why can't I? When she came to the well-known statue called the Achilles statue, she stopped for a moment. She had an idea. She now had to hurry and talk to the young man. Some minutes later, she came across him and tapped him on the shoulder. The young man turned around and
Hello there, ma. Can I help you?
You indeed the young man?
Tell me, what can I help you?
I want to know everything about you. Your name, your age, your business in this dirty street.
And why is that?
Is that I'm going to write a dirty detective story, and I think you can be the perfect main character.
Oh, really? How will be there? Tell me more.
This story will be about a serial killer, and I think you look exactly like one.
I do? May I know why are you doing this exactly?
Well, my ex-husband left me for my cook, and they suggested me to write a book to make money now that they will get married.
I'm sorry to hear that, man.
It's okay, dear. Things happen. Would you help me then?
Of course, I will, but I have a better suggestion.
And what would that be?
And what if the story is about a woman that killed her ex-husband with his wife with the help of the serial killer?
Oh, that is spectacular! And who will this story be about then?
About us.
But we are not serial killers.
I am, you are not, but you will.
It now looked like Mrs. Albert Forrester liked the idea of killing her ex-husband and Mrs. Bulfinch. That same afternoon, she stayed at the park with the mysterious man, now her friend, to make up a plan on how to kill Mr. Albert Forrester and the cook. That same night, Mrs. Albert Forrester and her new friend went to Mr. Albert and Mrs. Bulfinch's house to give them a goodbye.
I'm terribly late. You have been kept waiting for your tea. I'm so sorry. I have any idea what the time it is. My dear, I'm going to write a detective story.
And what happens?
I will write a murder story. The book will call The Artist's Statue.